Well, good day, everybody. This is Joe Van Cleve. Hey, welcome to another episode of, yes, the Typewriter video series. And this is going to be a short video today. I'm not going to make a really long one. He always thinks that. Over the last month or so, I've been using mostly typewriters that have small size typefaces, what you might call elite size, 12 characters per inch. It wasn't necessarily a choice in the sense of it's not necessarily my favorite font size. I think I actually prefer the pica or 10 character per inch, usually, the letters being slightly bigger. But these typewriters, the Royal Quiet Deluxe, the brown one that I call Adobe Rose, the Smith Corona Skywriter, and now this new electronic typewriter, the Olympia Report, all three of those typewriters are 12 character per inch. Of course, the Olympia has a type wheel that you could change out the fonts, but I don't have any other wheels besides the one that's in there, which is a 12 character per inch wheel. So you go back into late June of this year, 2018, when Kevin Kittle and I had made our trek over to Phoenix to visit the Phoenix Type-In. And while we were there, we had a good opportunity to enjoy our time fellowshipping with fellow typospherian Ted Monk, who runs the Typewriter database and makes the Typewriter Repair Bibles available. Ted and I were talking about this kind of issue regarding typecasting, where you type up something, you scan or photograph it, and you put it on your blog. And both of us had this sense that we wanted to keep the images of our typewritten pieces online such that the letters were big enough to easily read. Now, I'm using Blogger for my blog online, and my template is the main part of the template where the images are is 650 pixels wide. So in order for a typewritten piece to be legible, especially on a small screen device like a mobile phone, you have to use a fairly narrow column of letters. And this is especially true when you're using the smaller size typefaces, the 12 character per inch. I've used a lot of pica size typewriters over the years for blogging. The problem with pica typefaces, though, when you're trying to fit them onto a narrow column, is the sentences end up being really short, and you end up doing a lot of either hyphenating words when they come to the right margin, you have to break them apart, or you just have a lot of wasted space, a lot of gaps on the right side. So in the last couple months, when I've been using these 12 character per inch typewriters, I've started to notice I kind of like using 12 characters per inch a little bit better for typecasting. But what I had to do is figure out how to manage having a narrow column, a narrow margin. Now, one of the things I did years ago is when I was first interested in this idea of a roll of paper, an endless roll of paper, I started using a 6-inch wide roll of white automotive masking paper, and by giving it like about a half-inch margin on either side, I had, roughly a 5-inch column, which was pretty good. Since then, I've gone back to using standard paper, and I have to consciously think about setting the margins in closer together when I'm purposefully typing something that's going to be put on my blog. And there are times when I'll start to write something. I'm just spontaneously wanting to write, or I'm inspired to write something, but I'm not really sure if this subject matter and the way I'm going to write it is going to be a blog article or just a private journal article. So there are times when I'll start writing something, but the columns are actually too wide to really ideally put on my blog and make it well suited to read. So after having gone to Phoenix, and Ted and I were talking about finding alternative kinds of paper that work better for typecasting. Well, I had found, first of all, I found that I was using this 2¼ inch wide adding machine paper sort of for poetry, maybe like short line, stanza kind of things, but it's not really well suited for essays, prose kind of writing. The lines are just too short even for an elite font machine. Then I became aware of this 3 1/8 inch wide thermal paper that comes in rolls, but I didn't want to spend my money on a whole pack of those, like a half a dozen rolls or whatever. But when I came back from Phoenix, I discovered through tinkering around that if you take a standard letter size sheet of paper, this is 8.5 by 11, and you fold it in half lengthwise like that, try to get your margins nicely set up, that you can get a pretty good column of letters with a 12 character per inch machine. I usually give it like about a 1/4 inch margin on the left. And when I thread these up into my typewriter, I always try to put the folded edge on the left. And then, as I said, I'll give it about a 1/4 inch margin, and I'll let the other letters run over as far as I can, comfortably speaking. So I've been starting to do this, and there is a side benefit to it. Not only does it give you this 4 1/4 inch wide paper, with a 12 character per inch machine is almost ideal for blogging, because especially with my template on my Blogger page at 650 pixels wide, these letters are nice and big. They're very easy to read even on a mobile device, yet the lines are long enough that when you're typing and writing, you have some room to maneuver. You have some room to put some words down before you end up running out of space. Not only do you have that benefit, but this is the other benefit that it gives you, is you have 2 layers of paper. You actually have a built-in backing sheet of paper when you're typing. And this particular paper I'm using, this typing paper, is I think it's the Mead general purpose paper that's a little bit thinner than standard copy paper. Anyways, it gives you an automatic backing paper. Now, this particular machine was the Skywriter, whose platen is a little bit hard, and there is a little bit of show-through. The periods are kind of easy to see, the little dimples. So if you have an older machine with a harder platen, having this automatic backing paper built into the paper as you fold it is a really cool idea. Here's another kind of paper that I use for blogging. This is the engineering paper. This is a yellowish green, comes in a pad. It's already hole punched. The back side is a 1/4 inch grid for sketching. The front side is a template that has a line here on the left side about where the margin would be and where your holes are for ring binding it. Then there's a top area with 3 fields that you can write in, or I usually type typically on like the date and which typewriter I used and where I was at when I wrote it. Anyways, I do the same thing. I fold it lengthwise like this, and I use the right-hand side of the paper. The side with the holes on it is going to kind of interfere with your typing. So I use this side. Again, the fold is put on the left side of the margin of the typewriter, and I'll give it roughly about a 1/4 inch margin here on the left, and there is a little green line along the right side that I will basically try to keep it as kind of a margin on the right, but I don't really, I'm not real strict about it. I'll let some of the words run off onto near the edge of the paper. But I like the look of this greenish paper. But anyways, with a 12 character per inch typewriter, again, it's really a nice size. And you have that backing paper, as I said. Okay, now to archive this stuff, I typically will hole punch the paper if it's not already hole punched, and I will ring bind it in a 3-ring binder, all my pieces, and I have them organized by whether they're blog articles or journal articles or whatever. But this is what's nice, is you have the ability just to unfold it, and then there's room to put your hole punch there without interfering with the typing. And if you even wanted to, you have room to put handwritten notes. If you had some notes about this piece that you wanted to add to it for posterity's sake. I really like this idea of folding the paper in half and using it for my blog, a 4 1/4 inch wide column. Well, that's it. Just giving you guys ideas for how to take paper and make it a little more useful for you if you're a typecast blogger. Again, I think it's a cool idea, and it certainly has made my elite font typewriters a lot more useful to me, and it makes my template for my blogging a little more consistent. I get a little more consistent look out of it, where nowadays I'm more apt to actually purposefully choose a 12 character per inch typewriter for my blog, because when I type on it like this on half a piece of paper, I get a consistent sized typeface online on screen for you guys to read. So, well, that's it. A real short little piece. Short, it's probably like 10 minutes or more. As short as I can make it. Stay creative, keep writing, and until next time, have yourselves a great day.